Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhaled frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Just not cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Welcome back, everybody, to After. It's 420 Radio's Toker Talk Radio, second hour of the Russ Belville Show. I'm Radical Russ, your host for this discussion of marijuana and drug policy. Hope you're all having a great day. I tell you, these Florida guys trying to fight their medical marijuana. I get so tired of that claim, that scare. Well, only 5% of them are getting cancer for AIDS. In fact, one of the guys in here in the statement, let's see if I can find his quote. This is Dr. Gary Ricefield from the University of Florida's Psychiatry Department. Now, just so happens that the University of Florida is where Kevin Sabet is set up. I have no evidence that Dr. Gary Ricefield is involved with Kevin Sabet's thing out there at University of Florida, but it's just an interesting coincidence. He says that the outsized use of the two diseases, cancer and AIDS, are an example of a smokescreen by advocates. Quote, cancer and HIV are the camel's nose under the tent. Physicians, most of whom favor medical cannabis legislation, will acquiesce to their patients' demands for cannabis for other debilitating conditions like pain, muscle spasms, headaches, insomnia, and anxiety. End quote. Gee, Dr. Ricefield, I'm glad you're not an MD. Good God. Isn't it just fascinating how demonized cannabis is? That medical professionals will react to extreme demand for it as if that's something that needs to be stopped. My God, all these people in pain keep wanting to smoke marijuana. Obviously, that must be abuse. We must stop it. Right? Like, if all of a sudden they found a bunch of people in, North Dakota that had figured out how to cook up corn in such a way that it was a pain reliever, that discovery would be broadcast across the planet, and Monsanto would be marketing corn pills by the end of the day. That's how demonized the marijuana plant is. That when millions of Americans discover, as their ancestors before them had known, that cannabis is a pretty damn good pain reliever, especially for neuropathic pain. And the massive demand for that must be quelled. God, you'd think you would listen to the patients. You'd think that, hundreds and thousands and millions of people who say, "Hey, doc, I remember all those Dilaudid and all those fentanyls and muscle relaxers and somas and fucking Vicodins and Percocets you were giving me. You remember how I had to take all those anti-nausea pills just to keep them all down? Remember how they shut down my bowels and made it so I couldn't take a decent shit for a week? Remember how they made me kind of zombified and sitting there drooling and I couldn't concentrate? Yeah, you remember all that? Yeah, I got rid of those and started using this plant instead, and now I'm just fine. Well, my God, we can't have that. and of course, the longer you're in this, the more you recognize that it makes perfect sense if you just know how to look at it the right way. If you're looking at it like, a human being with empathy and concern for your fellow man, if you're looking at it like a Christian or anyone of any faith with any sort of moral compass, hell, a person with no faith in a moral compass, if you're one of those people and you're looking at this whole drug war, medical marijuana battle, it's got to seem to be the most illogical thing in the world, right? Like if you had to explain it to aliens, intelligent aliens come to America, come to the world, and we have to explain to them why we're searching and rounding up and using dogs to sniff for this particular plant. It would be hard to explain to an alien, wouldn't it? I'm sorry, why are you going after this plant? Well, Zedelbop, let's say his name's Zedelbop. We have to go after that plant because people might smoke it and feel good from doing so. Right? We couldn't tell them we were going after it because it was terribly deadly, because it's not. Hell, we got a whole bunch of other plants they would point to and go, what about the nightshade? What about the belladonna? What about the hemlock? I mean, you're letting those grow, aren't you? We can't say it's because that plant will let you get fucked up. Well, no, you're letting the nutmeg and there's a bunch of Jimson weed. There's other, those things are growing. You're letting those grow. We can't say it because, it's a painkiller people could get addicted to, because on my walk just yesterday, walking through Portland, Oregon, I saw poppies. I saw opium poppies and the little, bud sitting there waiting to be scored. Anybody could just score it with a razor blade and harvest the heroin milk from that, opium from that, make heroin. Don't do that. It's illegal. Because it gets you high. But there's a lot of plants that get us high and they're not legal. Like I said, the nutmeg. You can trip balls on nutmeg, folks. Hey, we got to take a break because I smell something fresh in the studio. We're going to be back with Left Wing Larry, who I believe has some plants to show us. Stick around.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the best way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at omarfigueroa.com. 420 Radio, turning red states and blue states green. When you are starting up a medical cannabis business, you don't just want any attorney. You want a fired-up lawyer who understands the needs of cannabis consumers. The law office of Lauren Vasquez is your fired-up lawyer for the cannabis industry. Lauren Vasquez knows the details of California marijuana law from both a personal and professional angle. Lauren Vasquez rose from the ranks of college normal activist to become one of the Bay Area's best marijuana lawyers. Visit her website, fireduplawyer.com, or call 1-855-MMJ-LAWS for more information. That's 855-665-5297 for Lauren Vasquez, your fired-up lawyer, or email fireduplawyer@gmail.com. The number again is 855-MMJ-LAWS, 855-665-5297 for your fired-up lawyer, Lauren Vasquez. Lauren Vasquez is an activist attorney you can trust. Call today.
Welcome back, everybody. Toker Talk Radio. That's music from Freedom Hawk with Indian Summer. And it's show and tell time. Yay, show and tell time. We've got Left Wing Larry in the studio. How you doing, Larry?
I'm doing just fine.
Looks like you are.
Just harvested my first Oregon crop.
Our first Oregon crop. All right. And of course, folks, you'll know from our advertisements that we are sponsored by Lush LED Lighting. These were grown with LEDs.
These were actually, the vegetation was done under conventional lights, T5s, and then because we hadn't received our Lush LEDs yet, so once the Lush LEDs came in, we put them into flower under the Lush, and this is the kind of lush stuff you get.
Yeah. Very nice. You can bring that over here. I'm going to set one down and see if I can get bud cam on this. But very green, very sticky. The buds are, the trichomes are very nice here. I'm going to see if we can get where is bud cam at? There's bud cam. We got bud cam on this. Here we go. All right. Did we harvest at the right time? It looks like we did. Looking pretty. Yeah, beautiful trichomes on this. Nice tight buds. Any estimation on how much we're going to be able to pull off of a plant?
I have no idea yet. I'll weigh them once I get them harvested. What I did was I did a two-stage harvest. I cut them halfway down, and I was starting to get a little bit of brown stuff on the top of one of them. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
But it was beginning to kind of worry me a little bit, so I thought, I'm going to get those suckers out of there.
Give folks a close-up look on my cam, too, here, as we get a little closer without being macro. But let's see if that helps any. Put a card behind this for the focus. But, yeah, do we know what strain this is that we're growing?
This is Power Nap.
Power Nap, oh, yes.
TGA, genetics, seeds, and Power Nap, and it's predominantly indica. And what I've got growing upstairs in the veg room right now, I got about a 50-50, 50% sativa and 50% indica. So
very good.
We'll have two separate strains the next time. A little bit of Power Nap and a couple of Power Naps, and then I'm not sure what the other ones were. Pookie brought them over to us. A couple of clones, and so we'll be growing them from clones.
All right. So like the next ones, though, we'll have taken them all the way with LEDs, right?
Right. They'll be all the way with the Lush LED light.
That is very cool.
See what the difference is between vegetating with T5s and then they're under vegetation with Lush LEDs right now.
Well, I can tell you one difference is in our electrical bill.
Oh yeah,
those LEDs will certainly help with the electrical bill, and
definitely
keeping that grow room cool has been a bonus because they don't generate a lot of heat.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Looking really, really good. So we will keep you informed. It gets sticky all over the hands, don't we?
Oh man, I am sticky. And by the time I get done with this and get them trimmed up, and then I went out what was that, yesterday or the day before, went out and bought me a drying rack, which is new for me also. I always hung them before by the stems, and everybody is saying that they dry in about 10 days now with the drying rack, as opposed to about 3 weeks. And then you start your curing. You got to cure them. Then after that, put them in the glass jars, keep them in the dark, and then every day burp them. You just open it up and let a little bit of air in, and shuffle them around a little bit, and then close them back up, and that's how you cure them.
Well,
and they're ready to go.
All right. Well,
we should within the next, I'd say 3 weeks, we'll have some smokable product.
That's very, very good.
Vapeable product.
Awesome. Left Wing Larry getting our grow going here, and we will keep you posted. We'll continue to have our little show and tell, because it's always good to look at nice, pretty green plants.
Oh, yes.
Want to make that possible for everyone.
And by the way, I wanted to let you know I'm right now updating my maps, getting ready for the next cup.
That's right. We got our Cannabis Cup coming up at the end of June in Sonoma, California, just north of the Bay. And Herb Thrash will be traveling down with us. Okay. So we're going to have ourselves a nice little crew down there. You can meet me and Herb Thrasher. I think Cousin Kenny might make it. Ganja John was talking about going. So we just might have a really fun booth. And, of course, Rolla J will be there.
Rolla J
will be there, of course.
I have as of yet to meet Rolla J.
Yeah.
This will be good.
You'll get along great. Rolla J is fantastic.
Last one I met, Grey Wolf.
Yeah. Grey Wolf's on his way up here to the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's catching a bus heading up to the Pacific Northwest. I think he's staying with Yellow Wanacake in southern Washington somewhere. I could be wrong. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, we'll be seeing Grey Wolf then.
That's right. We'll come on down to the studio. We'll have ourselves a good time. Also coming up this weekend, I'm going to be in Seattle. Actually, I'm going to be in Olympia. I'm visiting Bailey Hirschberg, who's one of the Washington Normal guys. Good guy. And last time I was up in Seattle, he said, you ought to come up sometime and hang out. And I just thought, okay, I think I'll do that. So I'm going to go hang out. I haven't.
When you said you were headed to Seattle, I thought you were going up to the Medibles.
No.
What are they called? With the bus?
Oh, Magical Butter.
Magical Butter.
Yeah, I might stop by, visit my Magical Butter buddies, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to have a trip where I don't have to work and just can hang out. I'm going to try that, see what it's like.
Thank God, on this trip to this cup, we don't have to go through.
Fuck Utah.
Fuck Utah.
We ain't going through Utah. Hell no. But yeah, I'll be in Seattle this weekend, and then next weekend, big important gig, the Dallas-Fort Worth Texas Normal Regional Conference. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but it's the Texas Regional Conference, and you can get there. Just go to dfwnormal.org, and they've got tickets and all the information that you need. I love going to Texas. The activism that's going on in Texas is amazing. It's hard to believe, when you think of Texas as a big, red state. But there's really good activists down there doing a lot of really good work. They got the 420 Truth Enforcement vehicles will be there. I will be there. I'm not sure who else is going to be there, but there's going to be a lot of somebody from High Times, I think, is going to be there as well. So Texas Regional Normal Conference, that's June 6th, 7th, and 8th. Normally on this day, this is the 29th, normally I would be up in Aspen, Colorado, because right now, beginning today, is the Normal Aspen Legal Seminar. This is the first of the seminars I've missed in 3 or 4 years, I think. But anyway, they'll be the normal lawyers will be up there in Aspen, giving each other advice and hints and tricks and all the things they've learned from the past year of defending marijuana clients to all their colleagues, so that they can help keep more of us out of jail. So that's great stuff that's going on at the Normal Aspen Legal Seminar. Wish I was there, especially because they do a barbecue at Hunter S. Thompson's place on Saturday, and I'm really going to miss that. But, there's so many gigs, and as the marijuana movement gets bigger and bigger and expands to more states, I have a feeling I'm going to do a lot more traveling. So we're looking forward to that. Looking forward to getting some help, too. New interns start on Monday. We've got a new newsreader, Priscilla, who will be taking care of the news. That's right. We get to meet Priscilla on Monday. She's our new news anchor. And we'll return our news to the 12-minute format where she reads a story and I reply to it, just like the good old days.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
Hey, Tokers and Tokettes, Radical Russ here to introduce you to my friend Matt and all the staff at Lush LED Lighting. Growing plants indoors can be a rewarding hobby, but electricity bills can go through the roof. Then you have to cool down all those big hot lights. It can drive a grower insane. With Lush LED Lighting, you can solve many of these issues and double your rewards. If you thought LEDs were meet the tech of today, Matt and his scientists have developed the perfect light for flowering plants with far less cost and heat. And the results? Let's just say I appear at a lot of events with the masters of indoor horticulture, and the harvests I saw from Lush LED Lighting were big, tight, sticky, and very effective. Check out LushLEDlighting.com right now and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Double your rewards and lower your expenses with Lush LED Lighting.
Let him bring in the beat.
Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, The Russ Belville Show, Ganja John, and Cascadia Concentrates, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Adam's meticulous designs are individually crafted and screened in vibrant, high-definition color. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
Let him bring in the beat.
The new Viper Hour, the best of early 20th century reefer jazz, blues, and swing at 5 and 8 Pacific Time every Monday on 420radio.org.
Yeah, just a little bit. That's music from Ape House with Are You Buzzed? I'm Radical Russ. This is Toker Talk Radio. Our phone number is above my head, 971-533-7111. If you want to call in, ask questions, talk, whatever, we're here for you. This is the voice of the Marijuana Nation, and that means you, the marijuana consumer. We will always be here as a public radio research for the activists and the consumers out there. You know, the marijuana businesses are going to have plenty of voice. They're going to have plenty of money, and they're going to have their shows, and they're going to be able to promote their agenda. Somebody needs to be sticking up for the cannabis consumer, and that's going to be me, folks. I may get sponsors, I may get advertising, but you can know that I will always be standing up for you and me, the cannabis consumers. And you know that's true because, like, how I went off on Open Vape. You remember Open Vape when they passed, you know, they crowed about their drug testing regime, and I went off on it. Me and Johnny Green both went off it on the Weed Blog. At the same time that the Weed Blog management was negotiating an advertising deal with these guys. So, you know, they were like, what the hell are you doing going off on? Like, hey, sorry. They did something stupid. I have to call them out on it. That's all. And that's the way it's always going to be. I'm never going to let these financial concerns ever trump our duty, my duty, to bring you the truth about what's going on and to advocate for marijuana consumers. That's always what have been about, and I always will be. All right, so let me get to some stories here. So hemp got planted in Kentucky, right? We told you about the whole hemp debacle. The two senators from Kentucky, Mitch McConnell, the Republican minority leader in the Senate, and Rand Paul were strongly behind this amendment to the Farm Bill that made it legal for the states that have already passed hemp laws, Kentucky being one of them, Oregon's another, for these states that already have hemp laws to be able to grow hemp for research purposes. And that passed out of the Farm Bill, right? All right, so when that passed, the Secretary of Agriculture there in Kentucky, James Comer, had ordered pounds and pounds, I think it was like 150 pounds of hemp seed from Italy. Maybe it's 250, can't remember. Doesn't matter. Lots of hemp seed from Italy. And the DEA blocked it, seized it, said, oh, just because the Farm Bill said you could grow hemp, that doesn't mean that you can import it and actually grow it. Right. And it took some bureaucratic back and forth and some threats and some phone calls to Congress and Mitch McConnell's office. And eventually the DEA relented last week and they let the hemp seeds go to Kentucky. Well, they got planted. On Tuesday, they got planted. For the first time since the 1970s, hemp was legally planted in Kentucky. And the details of this, as they planted the hemp, right, they planted at the University of Kentucky a small plot of 13 varieties of hemp seeds. And so the University of Kentucky agronomists will study this. They will, they're expecting the plants to be up in 7 to 10 days, break the soil, right? And to be harvested in October. The hemp varieties will be evaluated for their seed and fiber production. And this is from the Lexington Herald Leader, by the way. They'll be evaluated for their seed and fiber production. One of the agronomists said, generally speaking, compared to some crops, it's not difficult to grow, but there are other things that are unknown today. In particular, differences in the varieties of hemp we have access to today. Decades ago, hemp was largely grown for fiber. Now, much of the interest is in the seeds, which can be pressed for oil. So the agronomists are saying, hopefully we'll find one or two out of these 13 or so varieties that will be the best ones for the Kentucky farmers, right? So they've got the University of Kentucky studying this. They're going to study not only what's better for fiber or seed, but the potential weed, disease, and insect problems, how much fiber yield, seed yield, and the effects of nitrogen fertilization. So they've got this going on at University of Kentucky. They're also doing it. They just planted 50 pounds at Murray State University earlier this month. Kentucky State University, Morehead State University, Eastern Kentucky University, University of Louisville, and Western Kentucky University are all going to be planning research projects, plots of hemp for research, in addition to University of Kentucky. So the funny thing about this, though, is the very end of this story, the last line. After the plants are harvested and evaluated for the study, they will be destroyed. That just seems weird to me. We're gonna plant a bunch of hemp seeds and grow them and harvest them and test them to see which ones are best for fiber, which ones are best for seed oil, and then destroy them. Even if you find the one variety that's really great for seed oil and you've got all this hemp seed sitting there that you could be pressing into oil, that you could be manufacturing into foodstuffs, and we're just going to destroy it. They're going to find out which variety of hemp is best for fiber and have all these stalks, thousands and thousands of stalks that they've harvested. They can be converted into cloth or pressboard or hempcrete, any number of things, and they're just going to destroy it. Because if it weren't destroyed, why then the hemp would be used for something other than research. And that's all that got legalized, is research. I'm sorry to chuckle, but it's like it becomes more and more ludicrous every year I do this. It just becomes more and more ridiculous to see how afraid we are of marijuana to the extremes we will go to with hemp. We're so afraid of pot as a country. Well, not even as a country anymore, just as the politicians and the corporations. We're so terrified by it that it can only be researched. It's hemp, people. We've got evidence of hemp clothing, hemp fibers being used by humanity that now goes back 9,000 years. 9,000. It used to be 7,000. They found that guy, the Iceman from like in the Alps or something, 5,000 BC. Well, they found another guy. They found even earlier evidence, some buried infant mummies that they unearthed that were 7,000 BC. So 9,000 years we've had hemp fiber. But we got to move slow. Got to move slow. My God. It was grown in America, according to this story, as late as 1970. And of course, with the Hemp for Victory program running generally into the late 50s, right? So it hasn't even been illegal for a century, less than a century. But my God, we've forgotten everything we ever knew about it. We better just study it first.
Hey, did you know you can make rope out of this stuff?
Oh my God. All right. So that's the Kentucky story. I had to get that out of the way because, the hemp issue is always the one that's the most ludicrous, right? It's embarrassing that we even have to be fighting for hemp. It's just flat embarrassing. It shows our ignorance as Americans. Every other country, if we're talking about the nations that are in the so-called first world nations, industrialized nations, whatever you want to call them, every other industrialized country has legal hemp and still has illegal marijuana. Now, Netherlands, it's tolerated, right? But England, France, marijuana is illegal. Hemp is not. Australia, marijuana is illegal. Hemp is not. China? Damn, you get caught with enough marijuana in China, you can face death. Hemp? Legal. And in fact, the world's largest producer of it. So how is it that the Chinese police and the Australian police and the French police and the British police and the Belarusian police and the Polish police and the Danish police and the Dutch police and the Belgian police. Did I mention the Belgians already? How is it that all these other countries' cops can tell, oh, that's a hemp plant. That's all right. But American cops, my God, if we legalize hemp, my God, we wouldn't be able to tell the difference. They might try to hide pot in their hemp fields. Idiots. It's just so insane. And so, yeah, it's just embarrassing. Just embarrassing to have to defend industrial hemp, to have to fight for it. The Drug Enforcement Administration does not allow the sowing and cultivation of something that is not a drug. Never has been a drug, could never be a drug. Having hemp illegal because it looks like marijuana is like having powdered sugar illegal because it looks like cocaine. Now, of course, we know why hemp really has to be illegal in this country, and that is corporate profit. Hemp competes with cotton. Hemp competes with oil. Hemp competes with gasoline. Hemp competes with tofu and protein and corn and lots of things. Timber. Hemp competes with a lot of natural manufacturing industries, natural resource industries, I should say. And, I think I've long thought that if hemp only competed with one of them, right? Like if all hemp was good for was making seed oil, and that was it, then maybe we wouldn't be in the place we are today. But the fact that it's competition for so many different things, and increasingly the so many different things it competes with are these conglomerates. So you end up competing with a particular company's 4 or 5 different products that they make. Now, I've also made the point in the past that I don't think that it's solely economic reasons that keep hemp banned. And I do think there is something to be said about, if hemp is such an amazing thing, why aren't the Chinese going crazy with it right now? Why isn't everything in China being powered by hemp seed oil? And there's a lot of topics. There's a lot of doors that opens. And maybe we'll take a look at those in our next segment. But it's certainly illogical. There's no logical reason for hemp to be banned whatsoever. And the fact that we do and remain the only country that continues to ban it puts us again on this short list. America, the only country that bans hemp. America, number one jailer, imprisoner of all time throughout history. America, one of the few countries that doesn't have any sort of government mandated health insurance to help its people. America, number one in gun deaths and mass shootings. Now, there's some things that I wish that we weren't number one in. Hey, when we come back, we're going to take some time to go off the warpath, our new segment where I talk about things that don't have to do with the war on drugs. Coming up next, Edward Snowden.
You cut people, you smoke trees till you get what you need now. Designer drugs and minted smokes to get through the day. You always get them so high.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisements because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
I'm a reefer smoking man.
Wood Pipe Smoke Shop and Speakeasy is your source for cannabis community gear in southern Wisconsin. Owners Brian and Tammy Wood are located in Kendall, just outside of Madison, and they've got everything for the smoking enthusiast, including a full assortment of pipes, water pipes, hookahs, bubblers, one-hitters, and so much more. They're open noon to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday and can help you with your detoxification therapies as well. Call 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com for more information. That's 608-466-7473 or email woodpipes@yahoo.com. And as always, go pack go.
Support the Russ Belville Show. Text the word Russ to 420-420 and connect with the National Cannabis Coalition. You can also send $10 to the Russ Belville Show right from your smartphone. That's Russ to 420-420. You're listening to Radical Russ on the Russ Belville Show.
.420 Radio. Tune in, turn on, get highly educated.
Have you considered medical marijuana? Double-blind, peer-reviewed studies have found cannabinoid therapies to be successful in treating the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease, ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, brain cancer, chronic pain, diabetes mellitus, dystonia, fibromyalgia, GI disorders, hepatitis C, HIV/AIDS, hypertension, incontinence, MRSA, multiple sclerosis, osteoporosis, pruritus, rheumatoid arthritis, sleep apnea, and Tourette's syndrome, as well as anecdotal evidence in suggesting relief from anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress, plus reduction in the need for narcotic painkillers. Side effects from medical marijuana can include euphoria, relaxation, anxiety, panic reaction, paranoia, tachycardia, dry eyes, dry mouth, concentration and reaction time impairments, appetite increase, and in some U.S. states, arrest and incarceration. But medical marijuana is non-toxic and cannot cause overdose. Medical marijuana, it's not for everyone, but ask your doctor if medical marijuana may be right for you.
Dark days, my mind sways and my plans alter. Nobody's fault but my own. I think I might disown the dirt ball and bring this ship home and dry lock the bitch so disease of the industry won't continue to
welcome back. Music from the dirt ball. That's No One Left.
Tears for fears and just shout.
It's kind of how I felt when I lost Wiz Khalifa and Ganja John and Cannabis Carry on the show. Nobody left. But things are changing. Starting on Monday, we've got our new intern joining us on the show. Her name is Priscilla, and she's originally out of San Antonio, Texas, currently in Colorado, going to Colorado State University with a major in business and a concentration in strategic communications. So that's fantastic. And what else? An extra, she'd like a banner. I'll have to send her a banner. Yeah, we'll take care of that. And the 710 cup, she's asking if she can go cover that. She's already a go-getter. Can't wait to get her on the show. She will be our news reader in Hour 1. We're expanding our Hour 1 news coverage to a 12-minute segment where Priscilla will read the headlines, and then I will analyze and respond to the headlines, just like we used to do. And then we'll move into Behind the Headlines in the second segment. The Daily Toker Tunes will move to this hour, the 4 o'clock Pacific hour, so that you'll get your Daily Toker Tunes at 4:20. So that'd be kind of cool, actually. So looking forward to that. Starting on Monday, welcome our new intern, Priscilla. And it starts the Wednesday is our second anniversary on our show as a independent talk radio show, June 4th. So looking forward to that. She will be remote. She will actually be in Colorado. She's going to school at Colorado State. So she will be remote. She'll be doing it by video Skype. So things should be good. All right, let me move on real quick. A story that has nothing to do with marijuana. Going a little off the warpath here. Going to Florida, where a Central Florida man called 911 to say he was lost and being chased by wild hogs. That's a Florida story, man. I'm lost. I'm being chased by wild hogs. Help me. Help me. They're after me. Help me. They're coming to get me. All right, so this guy's lost. He's a 24-year-old guy. Says he's lost. He's in the dark. He can't find where he's at, but he's somewhere along Dean Still Road, which first of all tells me that there used to be a guy named Dean who operated a moonshine still on this road. Anyway, so the cops found him. They came out and found him out on Dean Still Road. And when they find him, they find that he's got an open warrant for driving with a suspended license. So they take him in, as they are wont to do when you have a warrant, and they inventory the kid's backpack. And in the backpack, they find electronic equipment, cell phones, earrings, and a GPS device, which was stolen from a home. And the guy admits that he took the GPS from a vehicle. So here's a guy who went out, robbed some houses, got himself lost in the dark, and called 911 while he's got a warrant out for him. And the best thing about this story, number one best part, no marijuana had to do with it whatsoever. No marijuana involvement. Yes, this was not a stupid stoner. This was just a stupid thief. So I'm glad that happened. All right, talking about another story here that has me a little. It's the way that the media reports on this that bothers me, right? Because I'm a look it up data guy, right? I want to know the data. I want to know what science says, right? So in the media, though, they're looking for clicks. They got to get clicks, and they got a term called clickbait. It's a way of writing a headline that makes people want to click it, right? And the trend is to write these headlines with question marks on them, right? Where, you're supposed to click it to find out the answer to the question, basically. So it's kind of changed the way journalism has been done, right? In a sense, headline used to be, what was the news? What happened? Plane strikes Trade Center, right? That's a headline, right? In today's modern internet click world, it would be, did something bad happen at the World Trade Center? Right? Was there an attack at the, right? So in this latest series of question mark headlines, we get one from Medscape. And the headline is, Legal marijuana making roads less safe? Question mark. Legal marijuana making roads less safe? So what they're doing here is they're reporting on the study. It was published on April 23rd in the Journal of Drug and Alcohol Dependence. And it points out that since Colorado, now I love the way they write this, since Colorado legalized medical marijuana in 2009, there has been an increase in the number of drivers involved in fatal motor vehicle. Wait, what? 2009. Colorado legalized medical marijuana in 2000. What they're meaning to say is that medical marijuana became more commercially available in 2009. Something that it don't get to until the fourth paragraph. The opening line, since Colorado legalized medical marijuana in 2009, there has been an increase in the number of drivers involved in fatal motor vehicle crashes who test positive for marijuana, a new federally funded study shows. So for the person who just reads that far, legalized marijuana has caused more people to die on the roads. Oh no, oh no. Of course, you get down to the next part, the fourth paragraph, and that's where they tell you, oh, well, legal marijuana has been commercially available in Colorado since mid-2009. So medical marijuana being available from 2000 to 2009, not so much a big deal, but then the stores opened, and that was the bad part, right? So they analyzed data from the 1994 through 2011 Fatality Analysis Reporting System, which tracks car crashes, fatal wrecks in America, and they noticed an upward trend in the proportion of drivers in fatal motor vehicle crashes who tested positive for marijuana since mid-2009. And they say this coincides with the large increase in registered medical marijuana users in the middle of 2009, and a lot of medical marijuana dispensaries opened around that time. In contrast, there was no significant change in 34 states that had no medical marijuana laws. So only Colorado, once they opened those medical marijuana stores and they had all these medical marijuana patients, my God, there's all these drivers in fatal wrecks who have marijuana in their system. Now, the authors also point out that the positive marijuana drivers were decreasing in Colorado before the commercialization period. Now, here's the problem. And it doesn't get addressed until this next section. So we're now, let's see, there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th paragraph. We get around to them saying, reached for comment, a psychiatrist at the University of Montreal said that although the study underlines trends that may be useful in conducting other detailed, focused research, it does not allow for, quote, any definitive conclusions about causal effect between any exposure, that is, the change in cannabis legal status, and outcome. Let me say that again. It does not allow for any definitive conclusions about causal effect. What we're discovering is that when you increase access to marijuana, more people use marijuana. And when more people use marijuana, there are more people in fatal accidents who show up with marijuana in their system. Another way to think about this, when you increase the access to gay marriage and gays and lesbians begin marrying each other, you will also see an increase in the number of fatal accidents that involve married gay people. What we are finding here is not that being a marijuana user makes you more likely to be in a fatal crash. It's that now we have more marijuana users who are showing up in the fatal crash statistics. We just have more people that are marijuana users who are less inclined to not be using it because it's criminal. It doesn't tell us anything about whether that has made the roads any more dangerous. Furthermore, this is a stat in a vacuum. This is just looking at fatalities from marijuana. How many fatalities go down with respect to alcohol? Do we see any changes in alcohol? This is how this modern internet journalism sometimes distorts the debate about marijuana and its impact on society. If there's more access to marijuana, if it's more legal, more people will feel less inclined to hide their use of it. They may be using it more often. It does not necessarily mean that they are more dangerous for their use. This is where we need more detailed study, and I'm very happy that we have legalization so we can start doing some of those detailed studies. All right, time for us to take one short break. And when we come back, as I promised, we're going to go we're going to go off the warpath. So many segments, so little time. Off the warpath, we're going to talk a little bit about Edward Snowden yesterday on NBC News and his interview from Russia. Stick around.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
Are you or is someone you know a marijuana smoker? Have you or is someone in your family been arrested for a marijuana violation? You need to know the truth about pot. NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, is the most comprehensive source of information regarding marijuana and its effects on health as well as legal issues. NORML even offers a database of lawyers specializing in cannabis in your area. NORML, the nation's largest and most successful marijuana law reform organization, has spent decades gathering the knowledge and science on everything related to cannabis. NORML is the best resource to find out the truth about marijuana, connect with a lawyer in your area, or help find an end to prohibition. Information is available at norml.org, that's NORML.org, or toll free at 888-67-NORML.
Cannabis Network Radio with David Kowalski from Tampa, Florida, replaying Wednesdays at 12 Pacific on 420radio.org.
Marijuana and alcohol are the two most popular recreational drugs in America. Marijuana smoking is non-toxic, relatively safe, and has a low risk of dependence. Alcohol drinking is potentially fatal, dangerous to society, and is quite addictive. Marijuana is safer, so why are we driving people to drink? That's the question of the new book, Marijuana is Safer, So Why Are We Driving People to Drink? By Paul Armentano, Mason Tvert, and Steve Fox. Visit Amazon.com or ChelseaGreen.com today to order your copy of Marijuana is Safer, or visit marijuanaissafer.com.
Welcome back, 53 after the hour. That's music from David Curtin with Green Camouflage. Coming up at 5 o'clock, we've got Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Rink. That's right. Episode 16, Season 3, Working Man's Funk is coming up next at 5 o'clock. Don't miss it. And then, starting at 6, replays of the last 3 hours. So you'll get Russ Belville Show, Toker Talk Radio, and Big Daddy Fink. 6, 7, and 8 o'clock for our late night set. All right, going off the warpath on this next one here. And we still don't have an off the warpath sound, so we're using the fanfare. Yesterday, I don't know if you caught it on NBC News, Brian Williams went to Russia and interviewed Edward Snowden. Edward Snowden, of course, the former NSA analyst who leaked tons of stuff on the NSA, thousands and tens of thousands of documents that are being slowly released by Glenn Greenwald and other journalists to let us know things like, you know, the NSA is collecting the metadata on everybody that's 3 hops, you know, within 3 degrees of separation. bugging the phones of the German chancellor and recording and listening to every phone conversation in the Bahamas, all that kind of stuff, right? So he's been releasing a lot of this information, and he's kind of a divisive figure. Some people think of him as a traitor. How you violated America's secrets, you risked our soldiers, you risked our standing in the world, you made us look bad, you caused all sorts of diplomatic problems, and so forth. Other people see him as a patriot. And this is how they framed it on NBC News, right? There's like traitor or patriot. And they are having a little hashtag campaign, as is wont to do, right? Some people see him as a patriot, though, for, an act of exposing our government abusing its post 9/11 powers to use them against our citizens in an unconstitutional way. Now, it gets to be tricky territory sometimes. I was in the military. I was in the National Guard. And when you sign up, I was in the Army National Guard, and when you sign up, you enlist, you got to take that oath that you will fight to preserve and protect and defend the Constitution of the United States from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Notice that it's not preserve, protect, and defend the United States. It's not preserve, protect, and defend the flag, the government, the country, the nation, the people. It's the Constitution of the United States. Now, unfortunately, this gets warped by some people, although I guess warped is my own personal perspective on it, and they would see themselves as being patriots as well. But some people will say, well, the Constitution says this or that, and they'll ignore the fact that there's been many Supreme Court decisions to say that's not so. And, we're going to talk about things like immigration or abortion or whatever. So it becomes tricky territory sometimes to separate who is the person who's got a legit constitutional altruistic reason to do what they do versus the person who's got kind of an agenda and they're bending the Constitution in the way they see fit. And so that makes it difficult for some people when they're discussing, Edward Snowden as far as what he did. Now, my point of view on this is that the guy did the right thing. And he did it in a smart and reasonable way. The damage he could have done to America with the level of access he has, obviously, as shown by what he's leaked so far, could have been much more devastating. Could have been a whole lot worse, the kind of secrets he could have revealed. And as he discussed in the interview, he talked about how he released this to trusted journalists, and it's being released in a slow kind of trickle. And every release is run past the government to say, hey, is there anybody who personally would be harmed by this? Like an operative in the field or something who'd personally be harmed by this. And so if you're going to be the guy who's the whistleblower, who's, releasing all this information from the secret bowels of the government, he sure is doing it in a very, careful and measured way, it would seem. But it leads us to, civil disobedience. And we often talk about Martin Luther King, and his, letter from a Birmingham jail when he talks about an unjust law should not be obeyed, right? And that's where Edward Snowden seemed to be coming from, is saying, when we find out that we're, just mass surveilling American people without cause, that's a little unconstitutional. That's a violation of Fourth Amendment. And one of my favorite writers, Lee Papa, wrote about how this is kind of like Henry David Thoreau. When he wrote about civil disobedience, Thoreau said, quote, let me see, where is it? Unjust laws exist. Shall we be content to obey them? Or shall we endeavor to amend them and obey them until we've succeeded? Or shall we transgress them at once? Men generally, under such a government as this, think that they ought to wait until they have persuaded the majority to alter them. They think that if they should resist, the remedy would be worse than the evil. But it is the fault of the government itself that the remedy is worse than the evil. It makes it worse. End quote. So, something to think about. Is Snowden a patriot? I think he is. I think he's pointing this country in the right direction. Those of us who suffered under the drug war have seen the exceptions to our Bill of Rights that it has wrought. He is just pointing it out to the general public.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at RadicalRuss.com.
That's all the time we got for today. Stay tuned for Big Daddy Fink's Funky Roller Rink coming up next. Funky Roller Rink. I can't talk today. For everyone here at 420 Radio, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.